The mating bond was supposed to be sacred, unbreakable. When Tanith felt it snap into place 3 years ago, binding her soul to Calder, Alpha of Valdrin, she believed the goddess had finally shown her mercy. She was wrong. On the night Calder was meant to claim her before the entire pack, he spoke her sister's name instead. Delane. Beautiful, perfect Delane, who could shift into a wolf of purest silver while Tanith's wolf remained locked inside her like a prisoner in her own body. The humiliation should have destroyed her. The rejection should have sent her crawling into shadows to die of the severed bond. Instead, Tanith did something no wolf in 300 years had dared. She rode to Thornwood and offered herself to the rival Alpha King. Soren was everything the stories promised, beautiful as a fallen god, cold as the grave, worse and surrounded by whispers of death. They said anyone who loved him withered like autumn leaves. They said his touch was winter itself. They said his last 3 queens had died within a year of their weddings, wasting away until nothing remained but frozen shells. He should have refused her. Instead, he studied her with eyes the color of a winter storm and asked a single question. "You cannot shift, can you?" When she confirmed her shame, expecting mockery, he smiled. A terrible, beautiful smile that held no warmth at all. "Then you'll do perfectly," he said. "I'll marry you. I'll make you queen. I'll give you everything your fated mate denied you." His terms were simple. She would share his name, his throne, his bed when required, but never his heart. "I will not love you," he warned her. "Ah, and you must swear never to love me." Tanith agreed without hesitation. Love had already betrayed her once. She would never be foolish enough to offer it again. Neither of them understood how impossible that vow would become. The great hall of Valdrin had never looked more beautiful, and Tanith had never felt more terrified. Thousands of candles flickered in iron chandeliers, casting golden light across the gathered pack. Every wolf of standing had come to witness this night, the claiming ceremony where Alpha Calder would mark Tanith as his mate before the goddess and their people. 3 years she had waited. 3 years since the bond had first sparked between them. 3 years of patience while Calder consolidated his power and promised her that soon she would stand beside him as his queen. Tonight was that night. Tanith smoothed her hands over the ceremonial gown, white silk embroidered with silver thread. Her dark hair had been braided with moonflowers. She looked beautiful. Everyone said so. But beneath the silk, her heart hammered with a fear she couldn't name. Something felt wrong. She found Calder at the far end of the hall, standing on the raised dais. He was magnificent, tall and broad-shouldered, with auburn hair and eyes like polished amber. The most powerful alpha in 4 generations, her fated mate. He wasn't looking at her. His gaze kept drifting to the left side of the hall, where the noble families had gathered. Tanith followed his eyes and felt her stomach drop. Delane stood among the nobles, wearing a gown of pale blue that matched her eyes. Her silver blonde hair cascaded down her back. And her skin seemed to glow in the candlelight. When she laughed, half the men in the vicinity turned to stare. Delane, who could shift into a wolf so beautiful that poets composed verses about her silver fur. Delane, who had never looked at Tanith with anything but pity. "Stop," Tanith whispered to herself. "He chose you. The bond chose you." But Calder still wasn't looking at her. The ceremonial drums began, and the crowd fell silent. Tanith's mother appeared at her elbow, guiding her toward the dais with a tight grip. "Remember," her mother murmured, "whatever happens, do not cry. Do not give them the satisfaction." "Mother, what you are, just promise me." The fear crystallized into something sharp and cold. "I promise." She climbed the steps to the dais. Calder finally turned to face her, and what she saw in his eyes made her blood freeze. Guilt, pity, resolve. Not love. The high priestess began the ritual words. Tanith barely heard them. She was watching Calder's face, searching for any trace of warmth. She found nothing. Alpha Calder of Valdrin, the priestess intoned. Name the wolf you claim as your mate before the goddess and your pack. Calder's jaw tightened. His eyes slid toward the left side of the hall. I claim. His voice caught. He started again, louder. I claim Delane of House Marin as my mate. The words didn't make sense. Tanith heard them, but they seemed to come from very far away. She must have misheard. The hall erupted. Gasps, shouts, wolves surging to their feet. The bond in Tanith's chest screamed in agony, twisting like a knife between her ribs. She couldn't breathe. Delane was climbing the dais steps, her expression a perfect mask of humble surprise. Tanith. Calder's voice reached her through the roaring in her ears. I'm sorry. I tried to fight it, but Delane and I have something deeper than a bond, something chosen. Not forced, as if their bond had been a burden, as if she had been a burden. I can't mate with a wolf who cannot shift, he continued quietly. An alpha needs strength beside him. Delane's wolf is magnificent. And yours? He shook his head. You don't even have one. Tanith felt her mother's words anchoring her. Do not cry. Do not give them the satisfaction. She forced her spine straight, forced her trembling hands to still. I understand perfectly, Alpha. Her voice came out steady, cold. You've made your choice. She turned and walked down the dais steps. In the crowd parted before her, a sea of pitying faces. Every step felt like walking on broken glass. The severed bond howled inside her chest. She kept walking. By the time she reached the great doors, a new emotion had begun to burn through the grief. Rage. She pushed through into the cold night air and stood beneath a sky full of stars. Her wolf, that silent prisoner locked somewhere deep inside her, stirred for the first time in years. Not a whimper. Not a plea. A growl. Thornwood lay 3 days' ride to the north. Its king was Calder's greatest enemy, a wolf so feared that mothers invoked his name to frighten children. They said he was cursed. They said everyone who loved him died. They said he was looking for a queen. Tanith smiled, and it felt like baring teeth. You want a mate who can shift, Calder? She whispered. Then watch me become something far more dangerous than a wolf. The kingdom of Thornwood earned its name. Tanith had been riding for 3 days through increasingly hostile territory. Ancient trees twisted toward a permanently overcast sky, their branches woven so tightly that sunlight barely penetrated. Thorns erupted from every surface, brambles thick as a man's wrist, roses with barbs like daggers. By the time she reached the capital, Tanith was exhausted, starving, and covered in scratches. Her fine gown had been traded for practical traveling clothes. She looked nothing like a noblewoman seeking an audience with a king. She looked like exactly what she was. Desperate. The castle of Thornwood rose from the dark forest like a claw reaching for the sky. Black stone towers pierced the low-hanging clouds. No flags flew. No music drifted from its windows. 2 guards flanked the entrance wearing armor of blackened steel. State your business. I am Tanith of House Marin, formerly of Valdrin. I seek an audience with King Sorin. One guard laughed. The king doesn't receive visitors. He'll receive me. I'm offering him a bride, a political alliance, and the satisfaction of humiliating Alpha Calder before the entire continent. The laughter died. Minutes later, the gate groaned open. The interior was worse than the exterior. Cold seeped from the black stone walls, so profound that Tanith's breath misted despite it being late summer. The corridors were empty. No servants, no courtiers, no life of any kind. Where is everyone? She asked. The guard didn't answer. They climbed a spiral staircase to a massive door carved with thorns and wolves. Enter, said a voice from within. Deep, cold, utterly devoid of emotion. The throne room was vast and nearly empty. Pillars of black marble marched toward a dais where a single throne had been carved from obsidian. And on the throne sat the monster himself. King Sorin of Thornwood was not what she expected. The stories described a scarred nightmare, but the figure on the throne was beautiful, terribly, devastatingly beautiful. Tall, with hair the color of a moonless night, sharp features, as if carved from stone, and eyes that pinned her in place, pale gray, almost silver. Cold enough that looking into them felt like staring into the heart of winter. "You are the rejected mate of Alpha Calder," Soren said. "The one who cannot shift." "Yes." "And you have come to offer yourself as my bride." "Yes." "Why?" "Because you need a queen. One, because I need to escape. And because marrying me would insult Calder in a way nothing else could." Something flickered in those cold eyes. Perhaps a shade less hostility. "You're bold." "I have nothing left to lose." Soren rose from his throne in a single fluid motion. He was even taller than she'd realized, moving with predatory grace. He stopped directly in front of her. "Give me your hand." Tanith extended her right hand. Soren took it in his. His touch was ice. Not cool. Actual ice, so cold it burned. She gasped and tried to pull away, but his grip held firm. "You feel it," he said quietly. "The cold." "Yes." Most wolves would have screamed, many have fainted. A few have. He paused. Shattered. Frozen so completely that their bodies cracked like ice sculptures. But even as he spoke, Tanith realized something strange. The cold wasn't spreading. His hand was ice against hers, but the burning sensation had stopped at her wrist, as if something in her blood refused to let the cold travel further. Soren's eyes narrowed. "Interesting," he murmured. He released her hand. "Very interesting. What just happened?" "I tested you. You passed." He returned to his throne. "Very well, Tanith of Valdrin. I will marry you. On conditions." "Name them." "You will not ask questions about my nature. You will not investigate my previous intended queens. You will share my bed when required for an heir, but expect nothing more." He paused, his voice dropping. "And you will not, under any circumstances, fall in love with me." "I can promise that easily." "Can you?" Something almost like grief flickered beneath the ice. Others made the same promise. They couldn't keep it. And they died for their failure. "They died?" "My previous queens. 3 of them. They fell in love with me despite their vows. The curse activated. They withered." His expression shuddered. "The wedding will take place in 7 days. Rest well. Tomorrow will be complicated." The door closed behind her with a boom of finality. And as she walked toward her chambers, Tanith couldn't shake the feeling that she had agreed to something far more dangerous than marriage. The 7 days before the wedding brought no answers, only more questions. Tanith learned to navigate the frozen corridors, to recognize which servants could be trusted. She learned to watch. And she noticed things. The way certain advisors flinched when Soren entered a room. The way one particular lord, a sharp-faced man named Korvath, watched her with barely concealed hostility. The way servants whispered about before, but never explained what had changed. The morning of the contract negotiations, Tanith found Soren already seated in a chamber adjacent to the throne room, flanked by 2 uncomfortable advisors. "Lady Tanith, please sit." She took the chair opposite Soren, acutely aware of his silver gaze tracking her every movement. "The marriage contract has been drafted according to His Majesty's specifications. If you would review—" The great doors burst open. Tanith's heart stopped. Calder strode into the chamber like a storm made flesh, his amber eyes blazing. A dozen Valdrin soldiers flanked him. "This farce ends now." Soren didn't move. "Alpha Calder, and I don't recall inviting you." "I don't need an invitation to retrieve what's mine." "I am not yours," Tanith cut in, rising from her chair. "You made that clear when you claimed my sister." Calder's eyes snapped to her. "I made a mistake. The bond? It's been tearing at me since you left. Come home. I'll break the engagement with Delane." The words she had dreamed of hearing for 3 years, and they meant nothing. You humiliated me in front of everyone I've ever known, Tanith said quietly. You called my wolf a burden. You chose my sister because she was perfect and I was broken. The bond will fade. And by then, I'll be Queen of Thornwood. Calder's face contorted. He turned to Soren. You don't know what you're getting. She can't shift. Her wolf is defective. That's quite enough. Soren rose. Bean and the temperature plummeted so dramatically that frost crystallized on the table. You've insulted my intended bride in my own castle. I would be within my rights to kill you where you stand. She's my fated mate. She was your fated mate. You rejected her. The bond is broken. Soren's voice was ice itself. She belongs to no one now. But in 7 days, she will be my queen. And if you ever set foot in Thornwood again, I will ensure you leave in pieces. The two alphas stared at each other. Neither blinked. Then Calder laughed bitterly. You want her? Keep her. He turned toward the door, then paused. But ask him about Thessaly. Ask him about Margot. Ask him about Lyra. Ask him why everyone who loves him dies. He was gone before she could respond. Tanith slowly turned to face Soren. Who are Thessaly, Margot, and Lyra? Pain flickered in his eyes. My previous queens. They're dead. All three? Yes. How? They fell in love with me. The curse activated. They withered. His voice dropped to a whisper. Thessaly lasted 3 months. Margot managed 5. Lyra was the strongest. Almost a year. She was still smiling when she died. Tanith felt sick. That's why you chose me, because you think a broken woman won't be capable of loving you. I'm trying to save your life. His grief stole her breath. The curse is absolute. Anyone who truly loves me dies. All I ask is that you keep your heart closed. Can you do that? Yes. Then sign. She signed. It was done. As she exited the chamber, someone stepped from the shadows. An old woman with gray-streaked hair and burning eyes. My lady, my name is Brennan. I was nursemaid to Prince Soren before the curse. What do you want? The others, Thessaly, Margot, Lyra, they all asked about the curse. They all tried to understand it. Her voice dropped. That's what killed them. Someone doesn't want the curse broken. Someone has been making sure every woman who gets too close to the truth. Someone has been killing them. Brennan nodded, tears streaming. Please don't try to save him. Don't investigate. The curse may be real, but the killer certainly is. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Brennan vanished into the darkness. Tanith stood alone, her mind racing. A curse that killed anyone who loved the king. 3 dead queens. And someone actively murdering women who got too close to the truth. She had come to Thornwood seeking safety. Instead, she had walked into something far more dangerous than a broken heart. The morning of the wedding arrived gray and cold. Tanith stood before a mirror while seamstresses made final adjustments to her gown. Black silk embroidered with silver thorns, the colors of her new kingdom. No white, no moonflowers. Those belonged to a different life. The chapel was full when she arrived. Hundreds of wolves filled the pews, staring at her with curiosity and something darker. Pity. They pity me. They thought she was walking to her death. Soren waited at the altar, dressed in black. His silver eyes found hers the moment she entered. Something flickered in their depths. Acknowledgement, perhaps, or gratitude that she hadn't fled. She climbed the altar steps and took her place beside him. Up close, she could see the tension in his jaw. He was as uncomfortable as she was. Somehow, that helped. The high priest began the ceremony. Tanith barely heard the words, too aware of Soren beside her, radiating unnatural cold. The rings. An attendant stepped forward with 2 bands of blackened silver. Soren took the smaller one. Give me your hand. She extended her left hand, bracing for the cold. It came, sharp and burning. But just like before, it stopped at her wrist. The ice couldn't penetrate further. Soren's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. He slid the ring onto her finger, his touch lingering. Her turn. She took the larger ring and reached for his hand. His skin was like touching carved ice, but she didn't flinch as she slid the ring into place. Something shifted in his expression, something almost like wonder. "The vows," the high priest prompted. "I claim you as mine," Soren said, his voice carrying through the chapel. "My wife, my queen, my mate." No bite, no mark. His mouth on her skin would freeze the flesh from her bones. Instead, he lifted her gloved hand and pressed a kiss to her knuckles. The gesture was formal, chaste, and somehow more intimate than anything Calder had ever done. "I claim you as mine," Tanith responded. "My husband, my king, my mate." She kissed his cold knuckles through his glove. She felt him shudder at the contact. "It is done. May the goddess bless this union." No cheers, no applause. The gathered wolves simply stared. "Thank you," Soren murmured as they walked back down the aisle, "for not being afraid of me." "I'm terrified of you," Tanith admitted, "but fear is a poor reason to abandon someone who needs you." Something cracked in his expression. Something like the beginning of a thaw. The feast that followed was subdued. Nobles offered congratulations that sounded like condolences, and through it all, Tanith felt Corvath's eyes on her, watching, waiting. The first 2 nights in the royal wing were tender, exploratory. Tanith was beginning to feel safe in this frozen castle, beginning to believe she might survive after all. That made the attack even more jarring. 3 nights after the wedding, Tanith woke to a shadow looming over her bed. A servant, blade raised, eyes empty with compulsion. She screamed, and guards burst in before the knife could fall. "Sleepwalking," the physician declared the next morning. But Tanith saw Lord Corvath watching from the corridor, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. And she knew better. The guards doubled their patrols. Soren was furious. She heard him shouting at his advisors through the stone walls. But no one could explain how a servant had been compelled to attack the queen. That night, Soren came to her chambers himself, his silver eyes dark with concern. "You'll move to the royal wing," he said, "to a chamber adjoining my own. I'll protect you myself." Tanith should have refused, should have maintained the distance their contract demanded. Instead, she simply nodded. The new chamber was warmer than any room Tanith had entered in Thornwood. A fire roared in the massive hearth. Candles covered every surface, their light creating a golden glow, and the bed had been positioned far from the windows. Everything arranged to combat the cold, for her. "I had the servants prepare the room," Soren said from the doorway. "I know the cold is uncomfortable for most." "Thank you. That was thoughtful." Soren closed the door behind him. "We should discuss what happens now." "I know what happens on a wedding night. My touch is dangerous. Extended contact will begin to freeze your blood, your organs, and your heart." He moved to pour wine, careful not to let their fingers brush. "The physical aspects of marriage were attempted only once with each of my previous queens. Brief, clinical, unsuccessful. Why do you think it will be different with me?" "Because you resist the cold. Something in you pushes back against the curse." He set down his glass, his hand not entirely steady. "I chose you because you might be the one person who can survive me. And if I can't, then I'll stop immediately." His voice was fierce. "I will not watch another woman die in my arms." Tanith set down her glass and crossed to stand before him. She raised her hand and pressed her palm flat against his chest. The cold hit her immediately, sharp, biting. She gritted her teeth. And then it stopped. At her shoulder this time, further than before. As if her body was adapting. Soren stared at her hand on his chest. "It stopped. Why does it always stop with you?" "I don't know, but I intend to find out." She shouldn't have said that. But how could she not try to understand? When they came together, it was nothing like she expected. His touch was cold, desperately, achingly cold. But wherever his skin met hers, Warmth bloomed. She could feel her body fighting back, her blood running hot. And Soren felt it too. "You're so warm," he breathed against her throat. "Like fire, like summer. Yes, like everything I've forgotten. And you're so cold. But I don't mind." Afterward, they lay tangled in crimson sheets, his arm around her waist. "Stay," she whispered. "Don't leave tonight. The cold is bearable. Let me keep you warm." Something cracked in his expression, something dangerously like hope. "Just tonight," he said finally. But even as he pulled her closer, Tanith knew it wouldn't be just once. She fell asleep in his arms, and in her dreams, her wolf stirred once more, not struggling, but watching, waiting, as if everything was about to change. Soren did not leave in the morning. He was still there when Tanith woke, his silver eyes watching her with wonder. "You're warm. Still warm. The cold didn't spread while you slept." Tanith stretched beneath the furs. The room should have been freezing, but her skin felt heated, flushed. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Different. Less cold." He held up his hand. "My fingers aren't blue." She took his hand. He was right. The faint blue undertone had faded. "That's good, isn't it?" "I don't know. I've been cold for so long. I don't trust anything that changes." But he didn't pull away. That was the first morning. There were many more. Despite his promise that he would not trouble her beyond what was necessary, Soren returned every night. He simply appeared at her door as darkness fell, and she simply let him in. Sometimes they simply lay together, her warmth battling his cold. He would tell her about council meetings, border disputes. She would tell him about her explorations of the castle, her growing suspicions about Corvath. She was careful not to name names. Not yet. The changes were subtle at first. His skin grew warmer. The blue undertone faded. He began to eat with actual appetite. He laughed once, briefly, and looked shocked at the sound. But there were darker changes too. 3 weeks into their marriage, Tanith woke to find Soren rigid beside her, shaking with violent tremors. His skin was pure ice. Frost spread across the sheets. "Soren, what's happening?" He couldn't speak. His jaw was locked. Tanith threw herself onto him, pressing her warmth against his cold. She held on, even as ice bit into her skin. "Fight it. Come back to me." Minutes passed, an eternity. The cold burned through her chest, but she didn't let go. Finally, the tremors eased. The ice retreated. His eyes focused. "Tanith." Her name sounded like a prayer. "What happened?" "The curse fights back. When I begin to feel anything good, it punishes me. There has to be a way to break it." "There isn't. My ancestors tried everything. No curse is absolute. There's always a key." The hope in his expression was almost worse than despair. "Don't make me hope for something that can never happen." "Why not?" "Because hope is what kills. My mother hoped my father would break the curse. She loved him so completely. She withered anyway." "Your father was cursed too?" "Every king of my line for 12 generations. We cannot love without killing. We cannot be loved without watching them die." "And the previous queens? Did they all hope?" Soren was quiet. Thessaly researched constantly. The curse took her quickly. Margot tried to love from a distance. It wasn't fooled. And Lyra... His voice dropped. Lyra didn't care. She said loving me for a year was worth a lifetime without me. Tanith thought of Brennan's warning. The curse may be real, but the killer certainly is. "When your queens became ill," she said carefully, "who cared for them?" "The royal physician. Lord Corvath oversaw their care personally. He insisted on selecting their medicines himself." "Corvath?" "Of course." Tanith kept her expression neutral, but inside, her mind raced. "What are you thinking?" "Nothing. Just tired." He pulled her close, pressed his lips to her forehead. "Thank you," he murmured, "for fighting the cold with me. Always." And she meant it. Whatever was happening between them, she wouldn't abandon him. Because somewhere along the way, impossible as it seemed, she had begun to care. Not love, she told herself. Caring wasn't love. But as Soren's breathing evened into sleep, her treacherous heart beat faster. And deep inside, her wolf growled, low and knowing, a warning, or perhaps a promise. 2 months into their marriage, Tanith knew she was pregnant. She felt it before the healer confirmed it, a warmth in her belly that pulsed with new life. Her body was changing, her senses sharpening. And her wolf was now fully awake, not free, but awake, pacing behind the walls of her mind. Tanith stood at the window, watching snow fall over Thornwood. Real snow this time, not cursed frost. She pressed a hand to her stomach. A child. An heir who might carry the curse. But her child was already warm, already fighting. Whatever allowed her to resist the cold was flowing into their baby. You're thinking very loudly. Tanith turned. Soren stood in the doorway, a rare smile playing at his mouth. He looked better than 2 months ago, color in his cheeks, warmth in his touch. Come here, she said softly. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. What are you thinking about? I'm pregnant. Soren went completely still. Then his hand slid to her stomach. Pregnant, he repeated. You're certain? The healer confirmed it. We're having a child. The words came out wondering. His eyes were bright with tears. After everything, we're actually having a child. Then his expression crumbled. But you'll leave now, won't you? What? The contract was for an heir. You've fulfilled your obligation. His voice was carefully controlled. You're free now. What if I don't want to leave? His eyes snapped to hers. What if I want to keep sharing your bed, your life, your... She stopped herself. Your heart. Tanith, be careful what you say. Why? Because you might hope? She touched his face. You've already started hoping. So have I. Stop. You don't understand what you're risking. I know about the curse, but I also know what I feel. Tanith, please. I love you. The words hung between them like a blade. Soren's face went white. No. Take it back. I can't. I love you, Soren. I've loved you for weeks. I love your coldness and your sadness and your desperate need to be warm. Stop. The word exploded from him, and with it, a blast of cold so intense that ice crystallized on every surface. Windows cracked. Fire died. Frost raced up the walls. Soren collapsed. No. Tanith dropped beside him. His skin was bluer than she'd ever seen it. Frost spread toward his heart with terrifying speed. The curse, he gasped. Your love... triggered. Then I'll take it back. I don't love you. I never... It doesn't work that way. Once love is true, the curse knows. The frost reached his heart. Soren screamed, pure agony. His body convulsed. His skin turned translucent. Tanith threw herself onto him, pouring every ounce of warmth into his frozen form. You can't die. Not because of me. The door burst open. Servants, guards flooding in, hands trying to pull her away. She clung tighter. I'll find a way. Do you hear me? I'll find a way. But Soren didn't respond. His eyes had closed. His heart had stopped. And the ice had won. 3 days. 3 days of sitting beside Soren's frozen body, refusing to eat. Refusing to accept that she had killed him with 3 words. He wasn't truly dead. Tanith felt a flicker deep within the ice, a spark that refused to extinguish. His heart had stopped, but whatever animated him still lingered, waiting. My queen, you must eat. Brennan stood in the doorway, grief lining her face. The baby. Will be fine. My child is a fighter. Brennan crossed the room and knelt beside her. There may be a way to save him. Tanith's heart stopped. What? The curse can be broken, but only by someone whose fire burns hot enough to melt the ice at its source. I don't have fire, I can't even shift. Your wolf isn't broken? Brennan seized her hands. She was bound, sealed away by your mother to protect you. My mother died when I was 3. She died protecting your secret. Tears streamed down Brennan's face. Your mother was a Solara, one of the last. What's a Solara? A sun wolf. Yona bloodline thought extinct. Brennan's voice trembled. Solara wolves shift into creatures of pure fire, wolves made of flame, immune to cold. Tanith's mind reeled. If I had fire powers, I would know. You do feel it. Why do you think you resist the cold? Your fire has been leaking through the cracks your whole life. That's what Soren sensed. That's why he chose you. The seal. How do I break it? I don't know. Your mother died before she could teach anyone. Lord Corvath. Both women turned. Soren's frozen form remained motionless, but the voice had come from his direction, thin, strained. Soren? Tanith scrambled to his side. His eyes were still closed, but his lips moved. Corvath knows everything. His ancestor. Cast the curse. His family. Maintains it. Kills anyone. Who gets close. Who what? Stay with me. The original curse. Corvath's family. His voice faded. The flicker of life grew dimmer. No. She pressed her hands to his chest, pouring warmth into him. But Soren had nothing left. The flicker went dark. Tanith screamed, rage and grief and desperate hope. And as she screamed, something answered. Deep inside her, a door opened. Heat flooded through her. Not warmth. Fire. Pure, blazing, consuming fire that roared through her veins and exploded from her skin. The room ignited. Frost evaporated. Ice on Soren's body began to steam and melt. Brennan stumbled backward, and Tanith felt her wolf rise at last, not fur and fang. Fire and light, massive, magnificent, made of living flame. I'm coming for you, Soren, she said, her voice fire and fury. I'm going to burn Corvath's curse to ash. Lord Corvath was in the great hall when Tanith found him. He stood before Soren's throne, addressing nervous nobles. The king is dead, he was saying, killed by his own curse, triggered by his foolish queen's love. A tragedy, but not unexpected. You're lying. Every head turned. Tanith stood in the doorway, fire dancing at her fingertips, eyes blazing gold. Corvath smiled. Your Majesty, I'm relieved you survived, though your grief has addled your mind. Your ancestor created the curse. Tanith strode forward, flames licking the floor. 600 years ago, a witch of House Corvath cursed the kings of Thornwood, and your family has maintained it ever since, poisoning queens who got too close, the nobles murmured. Wild accusations, Corvath spat. You have no proof. I have Brennan. She knows what you did to Thessaly, Margot, and Lyra, the poison you slipped into their medicines. The word of a servant? And I have this. Tanith raised her hand. A ball of golden fire blazed. I am a Solara, the last of a bloodline your family tried to exterminate because you knew Solara fire could burn through the curse. That's why my mother died. Your assassins found her before she could break the curse for Soren's father. That's why you tried to have me killed 3 nights after my wedding. Corvath's face twisted. The curse is absolute. Even if you burn me, your king is dead. Then I'll burn the ice too. She turned to the nobles. Lord Corvath is guilty of treason and murder. Seize him. For a moment, no one moved. Then Lord Ashwin stepped forward. I'll do it. My father warned me before he died. More nobles joined him. Within moments, Corvath was surrounded. This isn't over, he hissed as they dragged him away. You'll destroy yourself trying. Tanith watched him go, then ran. Soren was still frozen, still fading. Time was running out. She burst into their chambers. Brennan wept over his motionless form. He's almost gone. Whatever you're going to do it now. Tanith climbed onto the bed and pressed her body against his frozen form. Ice bit into her skin. but the fire in her veins pushed back. I love you, she whispered against his frozen lips. And I'm not sorry. Love isn't a curse. Love is the cure. She reached deep inside to where her wolf burned like a sun, and she let go. Fire exploded in waves, not destructive, but purifying. Golden flames washed over Soren's body, searing away ice, burning through the curse. She felt it fighting back, cold and ancient, but she was fury too. She was love and rage and stubborn hope. She was fire, and fire always won. The curse shattered like glass. Tanith felt it break, a deafening crack echoing through the castle, through the forests, through generations of suffering. Gone. All of it. In her arms, Soren gasped. His eyes flew open. Not silver anymore, but warm, living blue. His skin flushed, his heart thundered. Tanith. Her name was a sob, a prayer. You're on fire, literally. She laughed as golden flames danced across her skin without burning. I know. I'm a Solara, apparently. A what? I'll explain later. She threw her arms around him. I just need to know you're alive. He pulled her closer. For long minutes, they simply held each other. Finally, Soren pulled back. The curse, it's broken. Not just for me, for the entire bloodline. Our children will never carry this burden. Our children. She guided his hand to her stomach. Remember? Wonder broke across his face. Our child. I almost left you to raise them alone. But you didn't. You held on. You saved me. You loved me, knowing it could kill you. Because you're worth it. Love isn't meant to be safe. It's meant to be brave. Soren kissed her then, his lips warm for the first time. Marry me, he said. We're already married. That was a contract. I want vows that mean something. A future without shadows. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Yes, 1,000 times. The door burst open. Brennan stood there, joy transforming her face. It worked. The ice is melting throughout the castle. The curse is truly broken. Soren rose, pulling Tanith with him. Corvath has been arrested, he announced to the gathering crowd. The curse that plagued my family for 600 years is broken, and my queen is the one who saved us all. Cheers erupted. Brennan wept openly, and through it all, Tanith held Soren's hand and felt something she had never truly felt. Home. 6 months later, the throne room of Thornwood was unrecognizable. Sunlight streamed through widened windows. Tapestries of gold and crimson hung on walls once cold and bare. 2 thrones of warm golden wood had replaced the obsidian monstrosity. 2 thrones, 2 rulers, equals. Tanith sat in the left throne, her hand on her swollen belly. Soren beside her handled court business with confidence, smiling freely now. The curse was truly broken. The cold was gone. Seasons passed as they should. Life had returned to Thornwood. My queen, Brennan approached with letters and a knowing smile. Word from Valdrin. Your sister sends an apology, and congratulations. She paused. Alpha Calder wishes to negotiate peace. Tanith couldn't help her satisfaction. Calder, who had rejected her. Calder, who had called her broken. Tell him we'll consider it, after he apologizes, publicly, in writing. Brennan's eyes sparkled. With pleasure. As she departed, Soren leaned close. That was petty. Yes, it felt wonderful. He laughed, warm and free. I love you. Have I told you that today? Only 4 times. Allow me to make it 5. He kissed her temple. I love you, Tanith. My wife, my queen, my fire. We saved each other, she corrected. You chose me when no one else would. I saw fire. I just didn't know how literally. She laughed, and the sound echoed bright and warm. Outside, autumn's sun set over a transformed kingdom. Twisted thorns now bloomed with roses. Frozen streams ran clear. People learned to live in light. All because 2 broken people chose each other. All because love proved stronger than any curse. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it and would like to support the channel, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and they mean more than you know. Until next time.